So we've known for nearly 2 years now that a faction called Pan Asia would eventually be added to Squad based on the now super outdated living roadmap that had confirmed the US Marine Corps to finally be released in December 2020, as well as a map called Black Coast, some amphibious vehicles, and even helicopter fast ropes. Well, now it's halfway through 2022, but we've somehow stumbled upon what looks like release models of the Pan-Asian infantry and vehicles, originally being posted to the official Squad subreddit, r/join_squad, on June 10th by a user named Roferoni. As of recording this post has nearly 1,000 upvotes and still hasn't been removed in the past few days. And since the devs are actively commenting and moderating on this subreddit, and it's still up, I'm assuming they're just casually accepting this by not even touching it. They can't confirm it, they can't deny it, so hey, just let it exist and we'll see what people think of, maybe. Now, I want to be very clear here. There's no confirmation on anything from OWI in what we're about to talk about. There's no official statement. There's no one-off dev post in the Discord. There aren't any even deleted comments or posts. There's nothing, so take everything in here with a huge grain of salt. However, what we are seeing looks like it could fit right into Squad. So everything here points to these images being an actual internal release of some sort. Maybe it's an on-purpose fake leak or something to get hype. I don't know, but we're going to take a look at this and dissect everything since it sure as hell got me excited for the future of the game. But real quick, before we dive in, I do want to give a thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel over the years. And lately, y'all have been absolutely insane. We're actually nearing 100,000 subs on the channel and have over 15 million views across all my videos. But the vast majority of y'all who do watch my content are not subscribed. So if you do like the content, please make sure to hit that subscribe button since it helps me out a lot and I appreciate it immensely. Thank you guys again. Y'all are awesome. So let's go look at the cool stuff. Once again, this is what could possibly be included in Squad in the future content update. So to start it off, there are 2 images here included on this post titled Some Assets from Upcoming Pan-Asia Faction, with the main image being a vehicle overview and a link in the comments to a small collection of infantry models with the image titled PLA Infantry. Now, ever since Battlefield 4 was banned in China nearly a decade ago, there's been a persistent internet rumor that no games can show China in a conflict, and especially if the Chinese military loses that conflict. Because of this, we've received Battlefield games without China, and when Pan Asia was announced, we all kind of just accepted that it would be a combination of militaries in Asia to kind of appease China. Now, I actually don't think this will be the case for Squad, and hear me out here. Battlefield 4 was actually banned in China because it depicted a scenario where there was an opposition government and corruption that the US was helping fight, which is where the cultural invasion accusation came into. Battlefield 4 wasn't just depicting China, it was depicting China in a corrupt civil war scenario with Western militaries invading Shanghai and aiding the coup attempts, which is a huge no-go. Squad, however, has no real lore. There's no base single-player storyline. It's all just this army against that army and hey, go fight. So as we look at everything here, I'm going to make a gutsy call and say that Pan Asia is not going to be added to the game, but instead China is going to be added, and it will be called China. Here's why. Taking a look at the first images of the soldiers, we can see that it looks like the infantry are wearing Type 07 camo. Now, the coloring does look a bit more like the US ASUS style camo, but the design is definitely following the Type 07 pattern. This camo initially entered service in 2007 and has been used up until recently in 2019 when the PLA started to roll out the new Xingkong or Starry Sky style uniforms. For their headgear, we also have the QGF-03 helmet, a pretty standard Kevlar helmet, and the soldiers are seen wearing what appears to be the Type 06 chest rig and Type 15 body armor chest and neck guard. The best comparison I can find is from some unit photos a few years ago when China first deployed under the UN to South Sudan. And although we can't see the upper arm protection, the very obvious neck guard and ammo patches on the rig can be seen. Additionally, other images show the same style leg pouches and even the same type of knee pads. So it's a pretty safe bet to say that what we're seeing here in this image is more or less a like-for-like recreation of a standard mid-2010 era Chinese soldier. Since it appears that we're recreating China, the base rifle for these kits should be the QBZ-95, the well-known bullpup that has been seen in almost every FPS game for the past couple decades. However, looking into the Chinese squad makeup a bit more, it appears that squad leaders have the short-barreled QBZ-95B, as you can see in these two images, with an all-female unit being led by the squad leader on the right, as well as two QBZ-95Bs in the front of the formation here. Since I'm seeing Rifleman 1 and Rifleman 2 models, but only one squad leader model when every other faction has squad leaders 1 through 3, we may only see one squad leader kit with this short-range QBZ-95B. Maybe they just didn't want to replicate the 1, 2, 3 models since all SLs will look the same, but it's definitely something to think about. Either way, I wouldn't be surprised to see the 95B in either one of the SL options or at least crewmen and pilots. Now, the Grenadier should have the QBZ-95 with QLG-10A grenade launcher underbarrel attachment, which you can see in this image. This is a 35mm grenade launcher that can fire a number of different ammo types, with the most likely rounds being the DFS-87 frag round and the DFD-87 smokes. I do think it would be really cool to have some more variety though, and throwing in things like dual-purpose grenades or incendiaries would be really cool. At the end, we see the automatic rifleman, which should be using the QJB, essentially a longer and heavier barreled and bipoded QBZ with an option to use an 80-round drum mag. Now, the real unknowns I'm seeing in this lineup are the Rifleman Light and Rifleman Heavy kits. The Rifleman 1 and 2 kit should simply have something like the QBZ with varying optics and grenades, but I'm really scratching my head here as to what light and heavy would mean. It shouldn't have anything special like anti-tank weapons or DMRs, since that should be reserved for marksman and AT kits. I can't imagine them having explosives like combat engineers, and there really aren't any other weapons that the Chinese use. Maybe it's a variation of the model itself, indicating certain riflemen may randomly select a light or heavy model when they deploy, but seriously, I don't know on this one, and I would love to hear what you guys think. So please let me know in the comments, what in the world is Rifleman Light and Rifleman Heavy? Now, moving on from the infantry, let's get to the vehicles. In the back, we first see some transport vehicles, with the Logi and troop transport being the FAW MV3, which entered service in 2011. In front of that, we see a few variants of the CSK 131 armored car. I've seen some people call this the 141, but that variant is essentially a stretched out 131, with a middle door as well. So it's pretty safe to say that this is the 131 since we only have 2 side doors. It can seat a driver and 5 passengers, and we can see 3 different types of weapons on top as well, with what looks to be 2 machine guns and an ATGM. The first MG looks to be a heavy MG, so it could be the Type 89, which fires 12-7 out of a 50-round box. Now, the other MG looks to be the Type 88, a general purpose machine gun that fires the Chinese 5.8 by 42mm ammo. Finally, in the middle, we see what should be the Chinese Tomat V equivalent, and on top we see what appears to be the HJ8 ATGM. I've seen some people call this the TL4 Fire and Forget missile system, but that weapon system looks a lot different than the HJ8, as you can see here. It's boxy, it looks really compartmentalized, and doesn't even really look like a manned launcher, so I think the best bet is the HJ8. Now for the bigger toys. First, we see the ZBD-04A IFV, which at first glance looks a lot like a BMP, but unlike the BMP, this thing actually has a dual cannon. One main gun that fires a 100mm round, and a second that fires a 30mm round. The power to fire a round nearly as large as a tank round while following up with a 30mm autocannon is awesome, and I would absolutely love to play around with this thing in a real game of squad. Next to the ZBD, we have the ZBJ-08, a wheeled IFV that fires a 30mm cannon, as well as having 2 side-railed JH-73C ATGMs, which is essentially the Chinese Malyutka. The ZBJ kind of looks like an LAV, but the big difference is that this will be the first wheeled IFV that actually has ATGM capabilities. Until now, ATGMs and IFVs were restricted to the tracked BMPs and Bradleys, making the ZBJ much more deadlier than your typical LAV. Wrapping up the ground vehicles, we see the ZTZ-99 or Type 99 main battle tank. The Type 99 has an autoloader, making it comparable to the T-72, and as such only fits 3 crew. Looking at the model, I'm not seeing any external seats or MGs either, so most likely the gunner will be the one responsible for the MG and the turret. Now, the giant helicopter right next to the Type 99 is the ZHG, a medium-lift helicopter and supposedly the largest domestically made transport helicopter in China. I would imagine this would be balanced a lot like the Russian HIP, so a 1500 supply capacity plus a couple of Type 88 machine guns out the doors for defense. And finally, although we obviously can't fly planes in squad, the jet you see here is what I believe to be the commander's close air support call-in, the Xi'an JH-7A, or NATO reporting name Flounder. It's a 2-seat fighter bomber and has an autocannon as well as various missile and bomb loadouts. And I would assume that this would be like the Russian Su strike. But I do think it would be really cool to also have an option to call in the same vehicle but have a precision bombing run as well. You can't have too many things to blow up, right? Now, with the infantry having pretty much the standard uniforms of deployed PLA troops, and these vehicles not only looking like Chinese vehicles but also being labeled as such, I'm pretty confident that we'll be getting China in the near future, not Pan-Asia. At this point, I really don't see the benefit of not outright saying this faction is China, since it would actually look a lot like the devs were straight up copying the entirety of the Chinese military and giving credit to some random made-up faction. There is a huge Chinese population that plays this game, and I feel like that would be a real slap in the face for such a huge portion of the player base. Now, when we were thinking that this would be a mixture of Asian equipment, Pan-Asia made a lot more sense, but this is literally Control-C, Control-V China. It has to be China. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me on calling this faction China and not Pan-Asia? Did I miss anything or maybe mislabel something that you noticed? And do you think that this will be a good addition to the game? Let me know in the comments below, and if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. But that's it for me. Until next time, peace.